Are you frustrated by the feeling that your team is always outclassed in game, killing your motivation by round 3? It's disheartening to constantly lose rounds where your team should have the advantage, or worse, struggle to gain any advantage in the first place. Hi, I'm Konpeki, and in this video, I want to shift your perspective on how you view your ranked teammates. Your team's performance will never hold you back in the long run. More likely, you're inadvertently contributing to each round's downfall. But don't worry, I'll show you how to avoid these mistakes and maybe even enhance your team's performance along the way. It's no coincidence that some players like Curry can consistently go from Iron to Radiant in a matter of days despite having massive team disparities in some matches. And no, it's not solely because of Radiant players' insane mechanics that allow them to do this. Yes, having top tier aim helps, but what about high Immortal 3 lobbies where mechanical skills between players is very comparable? The truth is, the best solo queue players have mastered how to play off of, help, and control the vibe and attitude of their team, which is the first step to becoming a Radiant level team player. And real quick, before the video, if your rank is below Radiant and your goal is to hit Immortal Plus, my team of Radiant coaches and I can help you with our 10-week premium coaching program that offers a 500 RR guarantee or your money back. Some of our coaches include Milan, who was the analyst on Ascend when they won champs in 2021, and Screwface, who was a 6-man on EG when they won champs in 2023. To find out more and to see if we'd be a good fit, use the link in the description below to book a free call. And hurry, because we just opened up 60 more spots and they usually fill up in a matter of a few weeks. Now, let's talk about our approach to every game. First, how do we increase our chances of winning if it's impossible to control how our team plays or acts? Well, it all starts with your mental before you even press the Q button, and how you communicate with your team is directly affected by that. It's easy to fall into a mental slump after a few unfortunate games. We've all been there, sitting at the top of the scoreboard while your teammates seem lost and uninterested down at the bottom. However, what players fail to realize is that in every game, the opposite team deals with the same types of players. How you handle your own mental is the most important aspect you can control that seriously impacts your team's performance. You want to approach every game and teammate with the view that they are there to help you win. Every player is like a piece on a chessboard. If you disregard them when the game starts slipping away, you are all but sealing your fate to a loss. Every VALORANT player knows how it feels to have a bad game, so be encouraging and actively try to involve your teammates in the game despite how they might be performing. If your comms start to go quiet because one or two of your teammates fail to communicate, you are lowering your own chances of winning the game. For example, even if you have a no calming teammate, your call about the enemy's play or tendency can be game altering information for them, even if it's just a one-way conversation. Just because a teammate isn't speaking doesn't mean they aren't listening. Solo queue is all about taking every small advantage, not only for yourself, but also for your team. Of course, it's better to maintain control of as many rounds as you can yourself. An example of this could be if your team is in a 3v3 scenario. Overheating and dying is always going to be a bad play. Even if you were to take an enemy down with you, you're effectively leaving the round in the control of your team to finish out. Overheating is a common cause of strife within a team since you expect your team to always play to the win condition. However, you must ensure that rounds are secured and not thrown. Since all you can control is your gameplay, information is the best way to impact your team's gameplay and the better they will perform. You don't want to deprive your team of good communicating teammates even if they aren't one themselves. Climbing in VALORANT is about being the best teammate in the lobby, not having the best aim or the most kills. The more you can remain positive and talkative, the easier time you'll have climbing. You can't expect your teammates to perform at your level if you are trying to surpass them. It's no secret that some VALORANT teammates you will not be able to work with in any way, shape, or form. From Iron to Radiant, this is a situation every player finds themselves in from time to time. But I'm here to tell you that even those games are winnable if you can keep yourself and your teammates from avoiding tilt. Try to always be the positive voice on your team. Even though sometimes it can be difficult, great solo queue players know how to de-escalate situations rather than feeding the fire. It might sound like common sense, but just know you're investing your time into every match, so don't let toxic teammates devalue your ability to play and learn from game to game. Now, even if you have the right mindset when working with your teammates, that doesn't help you avoid and correct your team's mistakes if you don't know what to look for. The specific way you play to correct these mistakes varies from game to game, but the fundamentals remain the same. First, we want to discuss the basics of defense and attack protocols. Certain areas of the map are more important to be contested for success based on your team's agents and their setup. For example, if you have an agent like Killjoy set up on one spike site, you want to position one member to help her while your remaining teammates cover the weak side of the map. Most solo queue players might understand that Killjoy is a strong agent on defense when holding a site. Despite this, I'm here to explain what makes her strong in these situations. Yes, her mollies and damaging utility definitely help holding down the site, but it's actually the fact that she can maintain and gain information without risking her life that's even more valuable. This is why whichever side of the map maintains the most amount of information with the lowest amount of risk remains the strong side of the map. Now, let's say your Jett and Omen are playing on the other side of the map. The only way they can gain information is to peek and hold angles actively, not only risking their lives for space, but lacking the stall of a sentinel to stop stop site takes from the enemy. Now that you know this, making smarter, safer plays that don't jeopardize your team's advantage can be easier. Also, inform your teammates what parts of the map are at risk if they fight and go for 1-for-1s. A 1-for-1 trade on defense is never worth it, since the attacking team only needs possession of half or even in some cases a third of the map to win rounds. Not to mention the agents on the weak side that are lost during the site hit, so now you lose their utility for retake as well. Playing together on weak side is so important. Those trades are crucial to lock down and secure, since your sentinel set up on the other side of the map will not have helpful utility for a retake. They would much rather fight on their terms again, further weakening the other side of the map. So then, if the sentinel role is built to defend bomb sites, you might ask, why not leave them alone to defend one site while your other 4 members lock down the other site and retake with all of their utility? Again, the answer to this question lies in team play, which bolsters the effectiveness of everyone's role. Every role, whether duelist, initiator, sentinel, or controller, can contribute to the other's success. If you play solo queue and get bad duelists every game, you want to focus on yourself and your role. If you play initiator, are you constantly informing your duelist of what your dart scans and what it doesn't? Do you time your play with them when they are ready? You have the ability to influence how well your teammates can play if you consider these questions. The best initiator players in the world actively aid their duelists, while the best duelists seek specific help from their initiators. Even if your team is reluctant to communicate, you can still provide the information to them in hopes of them listening. Don't be the silent player on your team. You're only hurting your own chances of winning. Duelists rely on having well-timed smokes that don't run out while entering the site, or darts and flashes that cover their blind spots and the angles that they want to fight. Or maybe you're that duelist who complains about how bad your support utility is without asking for help or change. Observing your team's play and changing your style and goals is helpful and necessary to be successful. For example, say your Sova's dart doesn't clear all of B main on Icebox. Ask them to drone that area instead. Don't complain that the dart was bad, but offer solutions. This is what it means to be a good, proactive, and positive teammate. These principles don't only apply to duelists and initiators, they also apply to the sentinel and controller relationship. If you're trying to play Cypher on split and you don't ask your Omen to smoke A or B main, the enemy will have a laughably easy time contacting you on your trips and simply shooting them after your cage expires. These intertwining relationships between roles and agents can turn a mediocre game from your teammates into them being the highest performing member of your squad if you've considered helping and communicating these protocols to them. Giving up on a game is never the answer. Communicating these changes and finding out what works and what doesn't is the epitome of what it means to be actively improving and learning. Now, learning how to support your team will help you improve and help them perform, but does that mean you also need to be playing with your team? Not exactly. We're all familiar with the dreaded lurking Reyna, but many players lack the understanding of what a lurk does for the team and when they should or shouldn't lurk. We'll focus on the attacking side of lurking since it's the most effective and least understood. First, we must know that sentinels should always be the lurk role. This is because sentinels have passive information to help keep control of multiple sectors of the map, and they also provide little value to site takes in most games. If your team lacks a sentinel or has another agent whose utility isn't vital to a site take, like Viper on Icebox, then those agents can find success playing alone as well. However, playing alone in these situations doesn't mean you're not playing for your team. Good times to lurk is when you are trying to build a solid understanding of how the enemy team is set up and playing. So pistol and anti-eco rounds where your weapon is stronger are rounds where it's safer to go with your team and support them in gunfights rather than information. How many times have you seen someone lurk, die, and then hand over a Spectre or even a Vandal to the broke enemy team? Well, thanks Reyna. However, lurking can be very powerful for the player actively lurking and their team is a unit. Your number one goal above all else when on the lurk is to gather information and relay it to your team. If you do not have good communication with your team, it's almost never worth lurking. If you detect dangerous enemy utility and agents, so for example, a raise where you hear a boombot clearing an angle or a killjoy's turret keeping an eye on an angle, you want to be able to communicate that. With the information that you get, you can properly tell your team to speed up on the site they are pressuring or to rotate back to you. This information can take on many forms. Let's imagine for the last 3 rounds you've been lurking, and on the 4th round, the Raze doesn't boombot the angle she normally does. From there, you can speculate that Raze has moved from A to B, but then you notice that Raze has her ult. Now, because you inform your team of that gathered information, your Jett doesn't decide to dash in on A, and you inadvertently help her avoid a death since the Raze would have rocketed her instantly. Now, this is just one example, but hopefully it helps you understand how the butterfly effect of information can help your team improve. The way you provide information and help make calls is something something you control and that the best players have mastered. Even though the lurk information would be nice, there are some rounds where a lurk risks more than it tends to gain. On rounds where buys are even, the lurk's job is to first of all not die quickly. Dying on a lurk at the start of a round relinquishes all of your team's other map control and almost forces your team to take disadvantageous fights anywhere else. Only risk your life if you think you have a solid understanding of the gaps in the enemy's defenses. Me teaching you this will allow you to avoid back lurks yourself and identify weaknesses your team has, allowing you to correct them yourself or inform your team on what needs to be changed to succeed. You can personally impact and improve your team's performance in many different ways, beginning with maintaining a good mental, supporting each other's roles, and lurking effectively is a good way to start. However, in Valorant, teamwork is paramount. There will always be individuals who may not match your level of effort, lack game knowledge, or exhibit toxic behavior, which hinders the team's success. While such challenges are inevitable, this video aims to equip you with the strategies to transform yourself into not just a skilled team player, but a problem solver and a leader. To reach the heights of your potential, you must embrace the essence of teamwork. Instead of allowing discouragement from teammates, strive to understand the game from their perspective. This not only enhances your chances of winning in each match and propels you past the limitations imposed by those around you. Thanks for watching.